Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, Your Excellencies, today is the 1099th day of Russia's full-scale invasion against my country. 3 years of genocide, 3 years of aggression, 3 years of war crimes, 3 years of crimes against humanity and peace committed by the Russian Federation against Ukraine on an industrial scale. But in fact, aggression started in 2014. For 11 years, Ukrainians have been tortured, have been killed. For 11 years, Ukrainians are living in a nightmare. And just today, Russia launched 117 drones on peaceful Ukrainian cities, on peaceful Ukrainian civilians, killing one and injuring a number of people, also in Kiev region. Mr. Vice President, dear ladies and gentlemen, today on 26 February, Ukraine marked the day of resistance to the occupation of Crimea. 11 years ago, Russia began its armed aggression against Ukraine with attempted annexation and temporary occupation of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol. This day also reminds us that Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity with the internationally recognized borders is a cornerstone of global stability and justice. And as I'm coming from New York, from the General Assembly, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all countries who supported the UNGA resolution of Ukraine and other co-sponsors on comprehensive, just, and lasting peace for Ukraine, which is based on the principles of UN Charter, the sovereignty, the territorial integrity of states within internationally recognized borders, the non-use of force, the inviolability of borders, the accountability of Russia. And again, the aggressor should be punished. Aggression should not be rewarded, and aggression as a tool should be discredited in international relations. According to the OHCR, more than 12,654 civilians have been killed and over 29,000 injured since 24 February 2022. 84% of the casualties have occurred in territory controlled by the government of Ukraine and 16% in territory of Ukraine temporarily occupied by the Russian Federation. Children accounted for 673 of those killed and 1,865 of those injured. Just remember those figures, and the figure grows every day because Russia is an existential threat, not only to Ukraine, not only to Europe, but to the entire democratic world. And the victory of Ukraine, the outcome of this war in Ukraine, will define our common future and the future of the entire democratic world. Mr. Vice President, Your Excellencies, for more than a decade, Russia has been in full deniance of international law and in violation of fundamental rights and freedoms of the Ukrainian people with impunity. Millions of Ukrainians who remain in the temporarily occupied territories are currently being subjected to widespread crimes and human rights abuses. Russian occupying authorities did not permit independent international organizations to monitor the situation in temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. The UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine and the International Independent Commission of Inquiry continued to be denied access to temporarily occupied territories of Crimea, Donetsk, Kherson, Lugansk, and Zaporizhia regions, preventing investigations of gross violations of international humanitarian law committed by Russian armed forces. They include the huge scale of human rights violations, war crimes, crimes against humanity committed by Russia in Ukraine. Summary and extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearance, torture, rape, filtration camps, abduction of children, deportation, and forced transfers, the deaths due of lack of medical care. The forcible deportation of at least 20,000 Ukrainian children could be considered as the largest state child abduction operation in history. Thousands have remained in Russia. They are subjected to indoctrination, forced Russian citizenship, adoption, or placement in foster homes with Russian families, and even have their names changed. And this is the goal of Russia, to destroy Ukraine as a country, but also to destroy Ukraine as a nation, to erase our identity. And these acts by Russia violate the Genocide Convention, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the Fourth Geneva Convention. Taking this opportunity, I urge all the countries to join the international coalition for the return of the deported children. It is an extremely important mission. It is a humanitarian mission. Every child deported by Russia should be reunited with their parents. Excellencies, we have witnessed heinous acts of torture and arbitrary executions of Ukrainian prisoners of war in cold blood. Since the end of August 2024, the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission has recorded at least 79 such executions in 24 separate incidents. Russia's executions of Ukrainian prisoners of war are absolute barbarism, a grave violation of international humanitarian law and the laws and customs of the war. The last is clearly reflected in the UN General Assembly Resolution 79/184, Situation of Human Rights on the Temporary Occupied Territories of Ukraine, including the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol, adopted last December. Distinguished colleagues, accountability must be ensured for all violations of international humanitarian law. It is essential to maintain comprehensive monitoring and continuous documenting by all UN mechanisms and mandates. In this context, the role of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine is truly crucial. I urge the Council to extend the Commission's mandate for another year by adopting a relevant resolution at this current session. We will further spare no effort to establish accountabilities for all the crimes committed by Russia against Ukraine and its people by ensuring proper, fair, and independent investigation and prosecution at national and international levels, and by securing full reparation for damage, loss, or injury inflicted by Russia upon our people. All the acts of terror committed by Russia and its policy of genocide against the people of Ukraine cannot be unanswered. The world must stand united to hold Russia accountable for these flagrant, brutal violations of international humanitarian law. And our main position is very much clear, and it was voiced out last Monday on UN Security Council meeting and, of course, at the General Assembly. Nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. Sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine within internationally recognized borders must be upheld. Accountability of Russia for all its heinous crimes of aggression, genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes must be ensured. Again, aggression should be discredited as a tool of statecraft, and it should not be rewarded. And of course, all our prisoners of war, illegally detained persons, and our Ukrainian children who were deported in grave violation of international law by Russia should be returned to Ukraine. And justice should be served to Ukraine and to the Ukrainian nation. I thank you for your solidarity, for your support, and I do urge everyone, all nations present in this hall, do stand with Ukraine till victory. This is not only about Ukraine. This is about our main principles of international law. This is our values. Thank you so much for your attention.